First oral question, Baroness Bloor.
I beg leave to ask the question signing my name on the order paper.
My Lords, as of March 2022, 96% of probation officers and probation service officers held less than 50 cases, with an average caseload of 34. The average caseload for the 4% who hold over 50 cases is 59. The number of open active children's cases within CAFCAS was 34,834 in May 2022. This has reduced from 38,178 in April 2021, but still represents an increase of 15.1% on pre-pandemic levels.
I'll be very interested to discuss those figures with the Minister, as I don't entirely recognise them. However, recent MOJ figures show that some regions, including London, are understaffed by hundreds of permanent posts, costing therefore the taxpayer £23 million in cover agency fees. Record high numbers are leaving the probation service due to poor pay and excessive workloads, often 110% of that which is actually their requirement. Does the Minister accept that poor pay for probation staff is actually a false economy?
My Lords, the position in relation to the probation service is that a new model of working is being introduced, which necessarily is causing some strain in the service. However, the Government considers that this new method, this new approach is necessary and will repay the short-term hurt which its introduction is causing. The Government and the Probation Service are committed to maintaining levels of staff in this exceptionally important field.
CAFCAS is concerned with representing the interests of children in court. In the report assessing the risk of harm to children and parents in private law children's cases, published by the Ministry of Justice in June 2020, the expert panel recommended that the MOJ should commission, and I quote, an independent, systematic, retrospective research study on the implementation of the current law and practice in cases in which allegations of domestic abuse, child sexual abuse or other serious offences are raised. Has that study been commissioned, and if so, what point has it reached?
My Lords, I will undertake to write to the Noble Lord in relation to that study. I don't have information in relation to its progress to hand, but if I may pray the Noble Lord's patience, I will communicate with him in due course.
Would the Noble Lord the Minister acknowledge that any magistrate would tell him that the family court is central to the work of the bench? And does he know that family courts particularly care and help and consider the predicament of children from homes that are underprivileged time and time again? How many family courts are there? What does his department do to encourage and to train those who make up the family court? And can he say how many family courts there are and how many magistrates' courts his government has closed these last years?
Well, Lords, once again, I don't have the specific numerical answers to the Noble Lord's question, but I do agree with everything he said in his prefatory remarks about the importance of this field. And I seek to assure him that the Government is aware of that. CAFCAS is an independent arm's-length body which nonetheless works within the civil service funding structure. And the Government has authorised uplifts over budget over the past 2 years in order to fund this the important work which the Noble Lord and I agree in terms of its importance, and to lay some stress on the work that CAFCAS carries out. With his indulgence, again, I'll write to him in relation to the specific number questions which he poses.
Trust, as former chair of CAFCAS, would the Noble Lord the Minister agree that the difficulties of staffing for these services are a reflection of the whole social work profession, with low morale, very great difficulties of recruitment and retention because of poor pay and poor support over a great many years?
My Lords, one of the difficulties in relation to retention of staff in this body is a pay structure, which means that the pay of CAFCAS staff, tied as it is to civil service staffing models, can be less than what is available to professional persons working for other agencies, such as local government. Now, in those circumstances, the government is in regular contact with CAFCAS officials and senior management, and the government is satisfied that they are conscious of the great problems to which the noble lady alludes in her question. As to retention and recruitment of staff, the government is working with CAFCAS to maintain, or to seek to maintain, levels and to improve levels of staffing in this important area.
In the continuing scandal of prisoners held on indefinite sentences for public protection, is my noble friend satisfied that the training provided to probation officers in dealing with IPP prisoners has met the aspirations set in the 2019 IPP Action Plan?
My Lords, I regret to say once again I do not have the specific data in relation to the IPP Protection Plan to which my noble friend Lord Moylan refers. But once again, with his patience and that of the House, I will write to him on the topic.
My Lords, I'm grateful to my Lord. Is the figures which the House has been given by the ministers ones which reflect the views apparently of the Lord Chancellor, that the approach to probation should be one which includes responsibilities of giving reviews of victims of crime post-trial after a person has been convicted?
My Lords, the matter of the disclosure and the taking into account of views of persons who are connected with or victims directly of crimes is not a matter which bears directly upon the responsibilities of the probation service. But I do seek to assure the noble Lord that the views of the Lord Chancellor in relation to the importance of taking into account such views of persons who are victims of crime or connected to crimes are being taken into account.
My Lords, I want to ask about unpaid work as part of a community sentence. There is a huge backlog. For example, in January, the East Midlands Probation Service had in excess of 100,000 hours of unpaid work which had not been delivered. And of course, there are a low number of offenders who are actually completing their unpaid work. And of course, this undermines the sentence itself, as well as the victim's faith in the justice system. What can the Minister say about the staffing levels necessary to administer unpaid work? And does he believe that this backlog is going to be reduced in any sensible proportion in the next year or so?
My Lords, training for probation staff to equip them with the necessary knowledge and information to be able to superintend unpaid work in the community, as with every aspect of their work, is invaluable. The government has met its target to recruit 1,000 officers holding professional qualifications in probation for the financial year 2020 to 21 and 1,500 for the financial year 2021 to 22. So much, my Lords, for levels within working within the area. As for the Noble Lord's point about recognition of the importance of such work and how to ensure that it's addressed, the government, of course, recognises the importance of the unpaid leave, beg your lordship's pardon, of unpaid work in the community as an aspect of the sentence, notes the backlog, notes also the complex background against which that backlog has arisen, specifically the problems in relation to offender management caused by the pandemic, and is undertaking as quickly as possible to resolve that.